Today's Dallas Cowboys Report is sponsored by Mint Mobile. You may have heard of them, the cell phone wireless plan owned by Ryan Reynolds. We'll go more in depth about them and what they offer later on in today's show, but you can get premium wireless on the largest 5G network starting at just $15 a month over at mintmobile.com/chatsports. We begin today's show with some trade buzz ideas around K'Lavon Chaisson, a name who we did discuss before this year's NFL draft. Now A to Z Sports once again exploring the hypothetical idea of adding Chaisson, and he might have been a Cowboy, as we should know, if CeeDee Lamb wasn't on the board. A chance that the Cowboys would have taken him given their dire need at the time for edge rushing help. ESPN recently wrote that Chaisson could be on the roster bubble in Jacksonville despite having only spent 2 years as a former first-round pick out of LSU. The contract is relatively affordable in the event Catboy wants to go out and get a former first-round pick. $1.82 million due this year, $2.43 next year. There's also the expensive fifth-year team option, which at this point you would not pick up, but you got time to make the decision. Anyway, Chaisson's stats have been not great, only maybe a little bit better than, say, Tristan Hill. More on him later on in today's show. Chaisson has shown some promise in terms of pressure rate. He's been able to make some impact from that perspective, but you expect a hell of a lot more than 2 sacks in 31 career games for the former first-round pick. Now that team, as they move to a true 3-4 style, they have Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen. They brought back DeJuan Smoot. All of a sudden, you could see Chaisson being 3rd or 4th at edge rusher. And that's also part of the problem with a hypothetical addition of Chaisson to Dallas. DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, Sam Williams are going to make this team is the number 1 edge for Tank and somewhere between 2 and 4 between Dorrance Armstrong and Sam Williams. Maybe Dante Fowler emerges. Micah Parsons is still going to get pass rush reps. Chauncey Golston should make this team. Dante Fowler, Terrell Basham, hypothetically competing for 1 roster spot. Now you throw Chase onto the mix and it becomes a bit murky as to, is he even good enough to make this team? Because although the Cowboys liked him a lot coming out, and I did too, and we all knew he was a developmental piece as an edge rusher, and although he does not even turn 23 years old until later this month, he has not been nearly good enough. And that type of bad start to your career, even for a former first-round pick, the examples of players who emerge despite a slow start is not that large. So even if you trade for him, it should be super cheap. My trade idea is a conditional 6th round pick. Could be a 7th if he doesn't make the team, a 5th if he plays really well, etc. I think that's a pretty fair offer for Chaisson because I don't think there's much value to him at this point. But what do you guys think? Would you trade right now for K'Lavon Chaisson and add some extra depth at the edge rusher spot and a premium talent in terms of a former first-round pick? This is the pinned comment on today's video, so if the ad break comes here on YouTube, it's perfect timing. Take advantage of it. Head down there, type in Y for yes or N for no. Now let's take a look at some notable cut candidates mentioned by Bleacher Report. 3 players who are, they're out there. They have to impress at training camp, right? First up on the list is wide receiver Noah Brown, who has been not the most productive offensive player in his young NFL career, but he has been a core special teamer. Now, for each of the 3 guys mentioned on Bleacher Report's list, we'll also mention the potential cap savings. It's the same via trade or cut. It's less than $1 million for Noah Brown, who is guaranteed next to nothing. Just like last season, Brown is fighting for one of the last, if not the last, wide receiver roster spots. He had the career year in production of 16 catches, 184 yards. Noah Brown, despite the members of 85 Hive who have been out there, he's not on this team because, he's a great number 4 receiver, that he is so valuable as a pass catcher. It's not the role he plays. And there's a very good chance that whenever Michael Gallup gets healthy again, Brown, best case, is your wide receiver 5. Behind CeeDee Lamb, behind Michael Gallup, Jalen Tolbert, and free agency addition James Washington. But it's the back end of the roster spot that Brown is always able to maintain because of special teams value. I think there's a very real argument that Simi Fehoko, TJ Vasher, even Dennis Houston carry more upside as a pure receiver. But Brown's a solid blocker. He does special teams so well. And in most cases, that 5th, 6th-ish spot on the wide receiver depth chart you have to be a special teamer. Otherwise, you're just not bringing the value unless you've got a sponsor and that team really wants you to have time to grow and develop, like Fehoko last year. So what would you do with Noah Brown? Type in K for keep or C for cut. Sound off for me in the comments section. I do think the special teams aspect often gets overlooked, and that's a big reason why Noah Brown has made my previous 53-man roster projection. Of the returning players in terms of special team snaps, Noah Brown is 5th behind Luke Gifford, C.J. Goodwin, Nashawn Wright, Jeremy Sprinkle, and then it's Noah Brown. Now, if Fehoko, Houston, Vasher, etc. can emerge as core special teamers, that might be it for Noah Brown. Otherwise, I think he's in a favored spot to make the roster. Today's Cowboys Report is sponsored by Mint Mobile. If you want a cell phone plan for as little as $15 a month, Mint Mobile is perfect for you. They're changing the game. Inflation sucks. It's impacting so many people, and that's why I chose to save a ton of money by making the switch over to Mint Mobile. And it was super easy to do thanks to their digital eSIM cards. You never have to go to a store to activate your plan, and in seconds, you can get set up from the comfort of your own home. You may have heard of Mint Mobile before. It's the cell phone company owned by Ryan Reynolds. Simply head over to mintmobile.com/chatsports to get premium wireless for as low as $15 a month with, by the way, unlimited talk and text. You don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data with Mint Mobile. $15 a month for premium wireless if you make the switch to Mint Mobile today. And yes, you can keep your phone and your number. So head over to mintmobile.com/chatsports to get set up today. That link is going to be in the comments section and the description of today's video. Number 2 of the notable cut candidates, Tristan Hill, which shouldn't be a surprise because, well, we've talked about that one a lot, and for very good reason. He is firmly on the roster bubble. 3 different coaching staffs / defensive coordinators, regimes, and all of them are like, the maturity's not been great from Hill. That is significant as far as I'm concerned, and he's been a disappointment. There's no way around it. I know there were many of us, myself included, who did not want Tristan Hill in the second round. We had our hearts and minds set on a safety. Still love you, Juan Thornhill. But the Cowboys didn't go that route, so we're all hoping for Tristan Hill to be a big-time key piece. So far, not that great. More on him in a second, but if you haven't already, please subscribe to us here on the Cowboys Report. We are inching closer and closer to 130,000 subscribers. I'd love to get there before training camp. Producer Jeremy, our Eagles fan, doesn't think you guys can do it. Let's prove him wrong and tell Jeremy to suck it by hitting that big red button and subscribing right now. It's a numbers game at defensive tackle, right? Oso Odighizuwa, Neville Gallimore, guaranteed roster locks. I think both Quinton Bohanna and John Ridgeway are probably safe as the Cowboys want some more nastiness and size. Fatties only lives, baby, on the interior. Carlos Watkins, by the way, I think is in a little bit better spot than what he's been in the past. Now, he's not guaranteed a roster spot, but he outplayed Tristan Hill. Heck, Watkins' 2021 campaign was better than Hill's entire career. And oh, by the way, amid Hill's disappointment, Chauncey Golston is getting more reps along the defensive line on the interior. That numbers game does not bode well for Hill. I think the Cowboys would love to trade him. But is there any interested parties? Who knows? Maybe he flashes in the preseason. So I want you guys to make your predictions for me. Will Tristan Hill make the Cowboys roster? 1 for yes, he's got at least 1 more year with the Cowboys, or 0 for no, that race has been run and he's done in Dallas. Back to offense for the final notable cut candidate. That is Rico Dowdle, a name we actually mentioned as a surprise cut candidate since I would be a bit surprised if he got cut, given previous history in play in terms of investment by the Cowboys. We'll go in depth on him. But if you had to pick one of these 3 guys to cut, have to do it, numbers make it so, who would you cut? NB for Noah Brown, TH for Tristan Hill, or RD for Rico Dowdle? Let me know in the comments section. Now, Dowdle does face a bit of a tricky situation where he missed all of last year with that hip injury, had a knee scope in the offseason. In theory, should be good to go in time for training camp. That's still a little bit murky when we're a week-ish. We can change away from reporting in the first practice and whatnot. But Dowdle has shown some ability on special teams, always important, back end of the roster, like I mentioned with Noah Brown. and in a very small role, more so in the preseason, has also flashed some interesting elements. There are, of course, two obvious and clear-cut roster locks on this team. Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard. Those guys aren't going anywhere. The Cowboys already chose to move on from Jaquan Hardy to make room for Malik Jefferson, a sign to me that they feel good about the running back room and Dowdle's health because you need bodies just to get through the preseason, right? Ryan Nall, Aaron Shamklin, kind of Ryan Nall, Nick Ralston, the fullback, and the name to watch as we get into the training camp in the preseason is Malik Davis. I did not love his production as a runner at Florida. Athletically, I was pretty disappointed as well from a testing standpoint, but he does a great job of picking up blitzers as a third down back, and the Cowboys are high on him. They brought him in for a pre-draft visit. I've heard several times that they like him. That is a name to keep an eye out for in terms of the preseason. Now, Dowdle's not going to get cut until final roster cutdown time, if he does get cut, but that is certainly a position group to watch out for. If you guys made it to the end of today's video, thank you all so much. I want to show you some love if you made it to the end. So type in DC4L, of course that's Dallas Cowboys for life, if you made it to the end of today's Cowboys Report.